I smell bass head. Actually, I smell pizza, which is my lunch, but I smell bass head. We got a bass head set here. That means it's for a specific part of the hobby that has a specific library. This is not a jack of all trades. This is not going to play all your library. This was intentionally tuned for people that like Tupac, that like Scarface. Let me go ahead and get to some music right here. Dead Presidents, Big L, Wiz Khalifa, Kendrick Lamar, Jadakiss, Jay-Z, Radiohead, Massive Attack, the Hollywood guy that has lots of explosions in his movies. You would feel that. Gamers that don't mind being snuck up on and killed because the explosions are going to sound so epically dope, like it's right next to you. That's who this is for. Hip-hop heads, trip-hop heads, EDM. Who is this not for? This is not for people whose panties get bunched up into their vag when their vocals are touched in any kind of a way. This is obviously not for you, so I'd kindly ask you to get the out of my video. Just go. It's not for you. The graph, one more time, just in case you didn't see it. There's the graph. Do you want a piece of that? Laters. Okay. I assume now that I'm talking to bass heads, if you continue to watch this video. And by the way, comment below this video if you're a subscriber, like it. You got to do the same. Be a subscriber for the unboxing channel, and one of those right there, I've actually got 6. I'm going to give to somebody that's right below this video right here. Mike or not Mike, I'm not sure which one you're going to get, but it'll be wrapped in plastic. This is a set that I'm going to talk about briefly. What it does well is obvious by looking at the graph. The library that it's aimed at, I just mentioned. What it won't do well is obviously implied by the graph. It's not going to do vocals well. It'll play rock and roll. It'll play everything in my library, but I would never rec it to somebody that said, I want a great all-arounder, doesn't touch the vocals too much, it has a little bit of warmth and a little bit of kick, blah, blah, blah. This isn't for you. This is for bass heads. And bass heads, by the way, if you are thinking I'm a bass head, you are part of a huge army. Let me give you a couple examples before we continue, because I want to know how big you are in this hobby. I talked a long time ago before I became persona non grata, I talked with somebody who was an administrator on HeadFi, and they were relaying something to me because there was a lot of temporary bans and stuff going on with bass heads that were getting trolled by other people on HeadFi back in 2014. And then for the next couple to 15, 16, 17, and then I got into a discussion about why does this always go on? And the administrator said, it's the way it is. They got a bunch of old heads in here, and then the Beats phenomenon brought a whole new wave of people looking for better quality, and they really boosted up our metrics in every way. So HeadFi at its apex around, I don't know, a few years ago, was really built on Beats people who maybe wouldn't admit it, but wanted better quality than what they got, though they were introduced by Beats. So I think HeadFi is on the decline if you pay attention to page flips and all of that stuff, because of Discords and Reddit and other platforms have taken away from their thunder. But when they were at their apex, it was really built on bass heads. If you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Can you understand? Hopefully the people I'm talking to right now can get what I'm saying, because it makes absolute total sense. Another thing is Fat Frequency. Fat Frequency is a company in Singapore. They're in a building, I think, on Moss Street. I might be mistaken, but I think they're in the same building with Critical, where his hangout is at. Pretty sure. I could be completely getting that wrong. Someone can comment below and tell me if that's the case, but I think they're in the same building. That was just a matter of direction. I was the crossing guard. I was the guy saying, if you want bass, take a look at the Annihilator, take a look at the mid-bass lineup for the Grand Maestro. It's pretty much the same, and then less in other profiles. So anybody that says this is just for bass heads is totally talking out of the butthole. These are people that take care of professional musicians, usually with CIEMs. They can make monitors, self-monitors, do all this stuff. And by the way, they've got a series called the Maestro series. And they got you. They think about you. The low-end crowd, they have your back. And as soon as people started to realize that a credible, legit company with good DNA, again, connected to them taking care of professional musicians who know what they're listening to. They have the guitar, they're tuning their instruments, they're monitoring their bandmates or themselves. Those people are making sets designed for your library and maybe other parts of your library. Like the Grand Maestro will do classical music, it will do hip-hop. They are buried right now. I think they're getting out from under, but they are buried right now. Why are they buried and other people? Because of reasons of, it's very, very simple. The amount of people out there that love a good stout low end is enormous. And that was proven again and again when people tap into it. Now, this collaboration was intentionally aimed at, with that in mind, to you, the bass head. A set that is non-apologetic and is just for you. It is designed to vibrate inside your ear without too much. You don't need to put too much energy into it. It'll run off of a phone with a 3.5, which is a what is the brand of this? I forget. Someone can tell me. It's they make the, I forget. Anyway, it'll run off of my phone. You can use the dongle if you want. It's very easy to drive to get that vibe. You don't have to push it too hard. It's got one driver completely doing the low end, and then it's got an additional driver. So when you do enormous amounts of low end, it's going to really, really reduce the quality of the replay of the mids and the treble. Forget about like looking at that as two drivers. With a single driver, that's really, really that doesn't work. So the point of having two drivers here is that that whole giant hump can basically be one driver, and then everything else can be the other driver. So I told them about fat frequency. I said this to QKZ, and I said, we're going after that crowd. And then I sent them one other thing I want to tell you about. I found like this graph thing on, I want to say headphones.com, but I'm not sure. And I'll try to find it before I publish this video, which I'm waiting for a HD resolution version of the intro. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm recording this on Valentine's Day in Japan time, so I think it's like one day ahead of you guys. Most of you, if you're in America, or the West. And it was a graph target that had this gray thing going over it, which was like a 5, 6, 7, 8 dB sway. Like it was a target with some tolerance going all along it. So something doesn't have to specifically hug the target. It can be kind of like that, and they would still consider it to be within the boundaries of acceptable in the mid bass. And I'm just speculating here because I didn't really look at what that was, but I'm guesstimating that's what it was, so that everything doesn't have to be compared against a single teeny half a dB width line that goes across frequency. It's very clever. I sent that to QKZ and I said, do you see this gray line? I don't want to be anywhere near it. It's a great thing for people. It's great for them to have that and maybe a few of those in their library, and that is a good guide in headphone.com or whoever made its opinion. And I, just from a brief look at it, I wouldn't disagree with that. But I want to depart from that completely because I know that people have lots of those already. I want something that, and this actually took some convincing because there were levels of bass as we went up, and they kept thinking, how does this look? And we keep going, like let's keep going. And then we get to a certain point where it was ridiculous a little bit, and then this is what we ended up with. But fat frequency, beats, head-fi, that graph with the boundary, that all played a part in how this came about. Just so you know, that's stuff that was in DMs, and it's not really more complicated than that. Go after a specific market that is massive and consider their library, which I share, and go directly at that. You're going to lose people who are super concerned with vocal quality. I think they have plenty of options, and good luck to them. And about the, panties jammed up your vag, I was just joking. Don't worry about it. So this is for you. The dog is barking. I'm going to go. Look forward to reviews. Pay particular attention to people that love bass. I've got some sent out to people that I'm pretty sure are bass heads, and they can give you So I have hip hop and some trip hop and reggae, and they might have some regional specific stuff from maybe India or Brazil that has got lots of low end, but is really kind of local music, and you might be more familiar with that, and you can go ahead and listen to their opinions. And if anybody complains about vocals, did you not see that coming? I mean, I'm looking at it. Look at that mountain. And to the dude that helped with the thumbnail for this video, thank you very much. That's so dope. It hasn't been completed yet, but that's just brilliant stuff. Love it a lot. So this is the funnest since the first one, the Mele, because this is the one where I said, let's just, instead of trying to not eliminate people, like, oh, that's too much treble, we're going to lose people, or that's just a little too much bass, we're going to lose people, that's creeping too much in the mids, we're going to lose people. Let's just forget all about that. Instead of trying to grab as many with the net as you can, do the opposite and target a specific group. And what is the biggest group in the hobby? It's bass heads. Whether people want to acknowledge that, I'll point out one other thing. I'm an audiophile. I say that because lots of people say that. And I point out for years the definition of audiophile. And then I point out that within that definition, according to Webster's, Merriam's, is high fidelity. And then in high fidelity is faithful reproduction. And forget about what the artist intended and all that stuff, because I don't know them. I wasn't in the studio. But I know what a four-string bass guitar sounds like. And I know that nobody wants the vocals to be drowned out by that instrument. So an audiophile is somebody that wants faithful reproduction. If Tupac mixed, or actually let me say Ghetto Boys, if Rap-A-Lot Records out of Fifth Ward, Houston, which typically did mix in really low hits, I want to hear that because that's why I'm listening to the Ghetto Boys' second album. And if it wasn't mixed with that much low end, like maybe a Tupac joint from Death Row produced by Daz Gillinger or Johnny J, which typically was not quite as enormous in the low end and had more just a bunch of dudes getting really stoned and playing with the mixing deck with all kinds of stuff, then I want that. And I don't want to get it drowned. I want to pick up all the little details and Shorty wants to be a thug. I want what it's supposed to be. And it just so happens that a lot of the stuff I like has lots of bass. So I'm a bass head, but I'm an audiophile. Those are not conflicting concepts. I love bass and I love enormous amounts of it when it's supposed to be there. And when the vocals are supposed to be up front and the bassist is supposed to be a little bit behind, because that's obviously the way it was mixed. That's typical. It's not typical for a producer to master anything and to slide up the bassist in front of the vocalist just before they're doing a solo. It doesn't make any sense. So if you're listening to replay like that, it's probably not what anybody intended. So I like it to be the way it's supposed to be, and I'm a proud bass head, and I'm glad if you take a shot at the Hades and take a ride to hell with me. And our friends with the panties jammed up, they'll have lots of stuff to choose from. This just won't be it. I just want to keep saying panties and jammed up the vag for some reason. I'm sorry. I'll never grow up. And that box is a trip, isn't it? One final little bit of info. I get sent 4 type of ideas for boxing. And I picked this one. But it didn't have anything on it. It just had the guy who looks like a Chinese Superman and a bunch of bubbles. And then there were other stuff like 3 dogs and Hades and like typical stuff that you would probably expect to see. And I said, I like that one. And then they sent 4 more without this one included. And I said, I actually like the other one. And they said, my friend, what are your ideas with that? And I said, take the bubbles and stick stuff in it. Like put me in one, put you in one, put the name of the item in one. Like just do like a cartoon. That's so cool. It doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before. So this was so like go for it on every level, from the box to the tuning, that there's a certain kind of freedom with this that's just very enjoyable and kind of relaxing. I have a Fitbit heart meter, and over the past 6 days my heart rate has dropped like 6 per minute. Because as it approaches the release date, instead of getting anxious, I'm getting more calm. It turned out the way that I wanted it to. QKZ is dope to work with. I'll talk about them someday, and because there's a lot of like kind of misinfo, but today's not that day. But you guys are dope. Thank you very much. The effort that you put into those little intro videos is Did you see the one that Linsol did once for something? I think it was for the Legato or something, and it just looks so ghetto compared to what QKZ does. They really got that graphic stuff down. And the QKZ X HBB has sold thousands and 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 thousands of sets. And I don't have people barking on me about QC. Not really at all. Because maybe it's not metal and condensing like the Mele did, but I'm not sure. But now I'm rambling. I'll let you go. This is for bass heads. There it is right in front of you. It's obvious who it's targeting, and you're a huge market, so flex. Time to flex. $50, 49 actually. It would have been $10 cheaper, but Linsol put $10 on that. And I'm out.